Hi everyone, good day. This is Dr. Vaughn, and I will be one of your preceptors in Laboratory of your Histology. For today, we will have another pre-lab discussion about your epithelium. So our learning objective for this day, at the end of this video lecture, the students are able to learn the different types of lining epithelium, location, and its function. I want you that after this lecture video, you will be able to classify your epithelium, know the location, and as well as its function. So we know that your tissue cells have similar or closely related functions that are bounded together by your intracellular substances to form now your bigger structure and functional unit. We know that we have four basic unit types of your tissue inside our body. We have your epithelial tissue, we have your nervous tissue, we have your muscle tissue, and lastly, we have your connective tissue. But for today, we will be tackling more about your epithelial tissue. These different tissues exist and function in close association with one another. So let's identify the characteristics of your epithelium. Remember that your epithelial tissue or epithelium is consists of sheets of cells that covers your external surfaces of the body, line the internal cavities and the organs from various organs and glands and line their ducts. So the morphology of your epithelium or any epithelium, however, differs from organ to organ depending on its location as well as its function. For example, we have your epithelium that covers the outer surface of your body and it serves as a protective layers from that differs from other epitheliums that lines your internal organs. So, depending on the location of your epithelium, it will have a specific function. So, your epithelium is not supplied by the blood vessels and therefore non-vascular or avascular. So, question doc, where do our epithelium gets its oxygen, nutrients in order to survive? Your oxygen and nutrients and metabolites diffuse from the blood capillaries located in the underlying connective tissue. Therefore, your epithelium is supplied by the vascular parts of your connective tissue coming from your connective tissue. So always remember, your epithelium is non-vascular or avascular, but it gets its nutrients from the blood capillaries located in the connective tissue. So your basement membrane separates your epithelium from your connective tissue. So later on, we have lots of pictures to see where you can locate your basement membrane. But always remember that your basement membrane will separate your epithelium from your connective tissue. And I want you to remember that there are two functional types of your epithelium. We have your surface or lining epithelium and your glandular epithelium. I believe that you will have a separate discussion on your glandular epithelium. So for today, we will now focus more on your lining epithelium or your surface epithelium. As what you can see, these are the different location of your epithelium. So remember that your epithelium is located in different or selected organs. So it could either be in the external surface, so example, in your skin. It could be in your esophagus, in your stomach, in your small intestine, in your trachea. So there are still a lot of organs that contains your epithelium. And also, I want you to take note that some of your epithelium contains a specialized structure. For example, your trachea, it contains your cilia. Your small intestine also contains your villi. Later on, we will see what are the functions of these different specialized structure of your epithelium. There could be only located in some or specific organs, but not to all of the organs. So later on, we will see those different surface structure or specialized structures. So let's talk about the general functions of your epithelium. So number one, transcellular transport of molecules from one epithelial surface to another occurs by various processes. So what are these various processes? We have the diffusion of your oxygen and your carbon dioxide across your epithelial cells or tissues. We also have, it could be a carrier protein mediated transport of your amino acids. So basically, it is important for the transport of your molecules. That is one important function of your epithelium. Number 2, absorption. Absorption that occurs via endocytosis or pinocytosis. Next, we have also for secretions of various molecules. We have your hormones, mucus, proteins that occurs via exocytosis. And lastly, one important function of your epithelium is for the protection against from the abrasion and injury provided by the epidermis, the epithelial layer of your skin. So therefore, the four basic functions of your epithelium, remember, transportation, absorption, secretion, and lastly, protection. But still, there are a lot of functions as depending on the location of the epithelial cells. So let's talk about now your lining epithelium, the surface epithelium. How do we classify your epithelium? What are the specific examples? So later on, so we will see a lot of different pictures or diagrams for you to identify these different surface epithelium. So in terms of classifying our epithelium, it is being classified according to the number of your cell layers, according to the number of your cell layers and morphology or structure. Again, classifying our epithelium will be based on your cell layers and morphology. When we say cell layers, it could either be simple, stratified, pseudostratified. When we say morphology or the shape of the cell, it could be your squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. So we will check what is the definition of these different terms one by one. When we say simple, it means that there is only a single layer. So that's the basic definition when we say simple. Single layer of cells. When we say stratified, it means that there is numerous cell layers, more than one. That's the basic definition. When we say pseudostratified, on the other hand, it means that it also consists a single layer, similar to your simple. However, when we say pseudostratified, it is composed of only a single layer that is attached to a basement membrane, but not all cells reach the surface epithelium. So I will give you pictures of that later. When we say squamous, for in terms of morphology, when we say squamous, it means that the cells exhibit a flat morphology. It is a flat cells. That's the basic definition of squamous. When we say cuboidal, on the other hand, the epithelium is actually, the surface is actually round or somehow cuboidal, and they are tall as they wide. So as they are tall as they're wide, so meaning there is an equivalent tallness and their wideness. So that's why it is cube. When we say columnar, on the other hand, they are taller than they are wide. So they are taller than they are wide. So let's have an example. So Doc, again, when we say simple, it's only composed of one layer. For example, these are simple example of your epithelium. It is only composed of one layer. When we say stratified, on the other hand, it is composed of more than one layer, as what you can see in this diagram, more than one layer. So there are more than one layers, more than one layers. And lastly, when we say pseudostratified, it is composed of single layer. So let's see, let's make this diagram bigger. So this is now your pseudostratified. As what you can see, it is composed only of one single layer. However, some of the cells did not reach your surface epithelium. So this is actually the basement membrane and the surface area. So since some of these cells did not reach the surface area or the surface cells, what will happen is that it forms now like a stratified. It means that you see it's like there are a lot of layers, but however, it is only composed of one layer. So that's why it is termed as pseudostratified or false stratified. Again, when we say pseudostratified, some of these cells did not reach your surface lining or surface area or the outer portion. Therefore, it looks like that there are so many layers, but in reality, there is only a single layer. That's why it is termed as now pseudostratified. So when we say squamous, as what you can see in our example, these are flat cells. Cuboidal, cube cells, or they are as tall as they are wide. When simple columnar, what is that? The meaning, doc? Taller than they are wide. So that's why columnar. Okay, so now we're able to classify our epithelium based on their layers and your morphology. It could either be simple, stratified, pseudostratified for the shape, squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. Now we have a special surface modification or specialized structure of your epithelium. We have your cilia, we have your microvilli, and we have your stereocilia. When we say cilia, there are motile structures found on the surface epithelium in your uterine tubes, uterus, efferent ducts in your testes, and conducting tubes of your respiratory tract. Excuse me. That's why I always remember cilia is motile. Microvilli, on the other hand, these are small, non-motile projections that cover the surfaces of all absorptive cells in the small intestine and your proximal convoluted tubules in the kidney. So unlike your cilia, your microvilli are non-motile. Your stereocilia, on the other hand, are also non-motile. They are long, branched microvilli that line the cell surfaces in the epididymis and your vas deferens. So therefore, to differentiate these three structures, cilia are motile, your microvilli and your stereocilia are non-motile. Your cilia is for transportation, your microvilli and stereocilia is generally for absorption. So we will see a lot of pictures later on. So again, let's identify the different special surface modifications. So I'll just make this diagram bigger. So first, let's identify. Now you're able to know how to classify or the types of your epithelium. So first, let's classify them. So again, how many layers? It looks like there are so many layers, but in reality, this is only one layer. So what you can see, this nucleus here did not able to reach your surface lining or surface area. Therefore, this is pseudostratified. Very good. So this is now your basement membrane. These are now your cells. And these are now your specialized or special surface modification or your cilia. Actually, so if we label this correctly, this is now your pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelia or your pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. So that's how you correctly identify this one. So doc, what is the purpose of your cilia? These are now your cilia or your specialized surface modification. Your cilia can be able to the main function of your cilia is actually for transportation because your cilia mediated transport of particles that is trapped in your mucus out of your air passages. So it helps to remove those foreign particles or substances in your respiratory area. That's why your respiratory tract contains now your cilia. So again, this is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelia. Next, we have your first, let's identify. Let's classify first your epithelium. I know you already know how to classify. Again, how many layers of cells? There are only single layers. So therefore, this is simple. Now, identify the morphology. They are tall cells. So therefore, these are columnar cells. So therefore, if we're going to label this tissue sample, this is simple columnar. Actually, this is located in your small intestine. So this is simple columnar with the presence of these are now your microvilli. microvilli. Again, since this is your small intestine, this microvilli is also important for the absorption of your different substances. Remember, your small intestine is the final area of digestion. So this microvilli will help or aid in the absorption of your nutrients and different substances. Lastly, we have your stereocilia. So this is your stereocilia. So these are now your stereocilia of your epididymis. Again, what is your stereocilia? These are long, non-motile branch microvilli. So again, your stereocilia, your microvilli are non-motile and their main function is for absorption, while your cilia can be able to move its motile because it is for transportation. So that's now the basic structure or the different special surface modifications. Now let's proceed to the different types of your lining epithelium. So first, we have your simple squamous epithelium. So when we say simple squamous, remember, simple, one layer, squamous, flat cell. So in terms of the location, it's your endothelium or your mesothelium. Always remember, when you see these two terms, endothelium, mesothelium, it is automatically simple squamous. Your endothelium, these are the lining of your blood vessels. Your mesothelium is the lining of your peritoneum and your pleura. Always remember that your simple squamous epithelium covers the external surfaces of your digestive organs, lungs, and heart, which is now termed as your mesothelium. Simple squamous epithelium that lines the heart of the chambers of the heart or the lumina of the heart, and then blood and your lymphatic vessels, that is now your endothelium. So again, always remember, endothelium, lining of your blood vessel, mesothelium, lining of your peritoneum and your pleura. So this is now an example of your blood vessel, lining of your blood vessel. So this is the lumen of your blood vessel and the lining of your blood vessel. So therefore, this is an endothelium. So these are now your flat cells. So what you can see, these are your flat cells. So therefore, this is simple squamous epithelium. Very good. Now let's proceed with your simple cuboidal epithelium. Your simple cuboidal epithelium is location, lining of your distal tubule in your kidney, ducts, and some glands and your surface area. So this is now your simple cuboidal epithelium. So pag sinabi natin, when we say simple cuboidal epithelium, it lines your small excretory ducts in the different organs. So it could be in your proximal convoluted tubules of your kidney, apical surfaces of your simple cuboidal epithelium lined with a brush border consisting of your microvilli. So this example is your lining of your kidney tubule. So what you can see, how many layers? There is only one layer. That's why it's simple, and the cell's morphology are cube-like. So therefore, this is simple cuboidal epithelium. So remember the location of this epithelium, please. Now we have your simple columnar epithelium. In terms of the location, it could be located in the lining of your intestine, stomach, excretory ducts, and in some glands. Simple, again, because one layer. Columnar, because these are tall cells. So it covers basically your digestive organs such as your stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and even your gallbladder. So in the small intestine, example, these are actually your small intestine. Your simple columnar cells contains an absorbative or specialized structure which is called now your microvilli. So remember that your small intestines has these finger-like projections. What are those finger-like projections? Actually, this is now your villi. So this is the villi of your small intestine. And the villi of your small intestine is surrounded by single layer of your columnar cells. That's why it is termed as your simple columnar epithelium. And this epithelium contains now your specialized structure as what we discussed a while ago, your microvilli needed for absorption. So again, this is the villi surrounded by your simple columnar cells with microvilli. So this one, this is the villi of your small intestine, surrounded by your simple columnar cells with the presence of your microvilli. So remember that, guys. Next, we have your pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So again, pseudostratified columnar epithelium, location, lining of your trachea, primary bronchi, nasal cavity, excretory ducts in your parotid gland. So generally in your respiratory area. So for example, this is an example of your pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. Remember that your respiratory tracts contains a specialized structure which is now your cilia, because remember, your cilia, this is actually your cilia, will trap the particles in your mucus, or will transport the trapped particles in your mucus out of your body. So again, this is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. So therefore, that's how you correctly identify this structure. Again, this is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. That's the complete name of this epithelia. I want you to, when I give you an example in our quizzes, so I want you to label it correctly and completely if it contains a specialized structure. So please remember that. So again, it lines your respiratory passages and the lumina of your epididymis and your vas deferens. So again, in your trachea, bronchi, and larger bronchioles, some cells contains now your motile cilia. So this is the location of your cilia. Very good. Again, this is the basement membrane, and this is now your connective tissue area. So again, what separates your connective tissue to your epithelium is your basement membrane. Very good. Now let's proceed to the stratified type of epithelium. When we say stratified, it contains a lot of different, more than one layer. So we're referring to the number of layers of your cell. So location, the location is the lining of your esophagus, vagina, mouth, and your true vocal cords. It could be non-keratinized and also could be keratinized, which is your epidermis of your skin. So remember, when we say stratified squamous epithelium, it contains multiple cell layers, and there are we have two types of your stratified squamous epithelium. Remember, we have your non-keratinized, these are the examples I said a while ago, and your keratinized from your epidermis of your skin. So remember that your non-keratinized epithelium, it exhibits live surface cells. Once it is non-keratinized, it exhibits, remember, live surface cells that covers moist cavities. However, in your keratinized epithelium, it lines the external surface of the body. That's why example of that is your skin, the epidermis of your skin. So, Doc, what is the purpose of this keratin in your skin? The purpose of this keratinized part of your skin is actually added protection against abrasion. And remember, your palms and your soles have thicker skin area because of also the presence of your keratin. Now let's proceed with your stratified. So another example, this is a stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. So remember, they contain now your live surface cells. Now let's proceed to your stratified cuboidal and your columnar epithelium. For stratified columnar and cuboidal epithelium, always remember that they have a limited distribution in our body. Again, your stratified cuboidal and stratified columnar, that's why I make a one part of your discussion here of your cuboidal and columnar, because always remember that your stratified cuboidal and columnar will have a few or limited distribution in our body. Both types of this epithelial, stratified cuboidal and stratified columnar, lines the larger excretory ducts of your pancreas, salivary glands, and your sweat glands. In these ducts, your epithelium may exhibit two or more cell layers. Again, stratified cuboidal, lining of your sweat glands, lining of your larger excretory ducts, and some glands in your cavernous urethra, your stratified columnar. So example, this is now your excretory ducts of your salivary duct. Again, as what you can see, how many layers? One, two. That's why we see stratified, and then these are cube-like. So therefore, this is a stratified cuboidal epithelium. Example of that is your salivary gland. And also, we have a specialized epithelia. So this is what we term now your transitional epithelium. So location is actually in your lining of minor and major calyces, pelvis, ureters, and your bladder of your urinary system. So this is your transitional epithelium. So doc, what makes it special? Because remember, this is a type of your epithelium that changes shape and can resemble either stratified squamous or stratified cuboidal epithelium depending on whether it is stretched or contracted, because your epithelium can be stretched or can be contracted. So again, remember, when the transitional epithelium, this area, when the transitional epithelium is contracted, the surface cells appears to be dome shaped. So again, when it is contracted, for example, this type of transitional epithelium is actually stretched. Doc, why is it that it is stretched? Because of the presence of your urine. So if there is greater volume of urine, therefore your transitional epithelium will be stretched out. So once it is stretched out, the morphology of the cells becomes dome shape. However, when it is contracted or there is fluid of your urine in your urinary bladder, what will happen? It will now resemble your squamous cells. So it looks like an squamous cells or a stratified epithelium. So again, your transitional epithelium, the structure of your or the morphology of your transitional epithelium will be different depending on whether it is stretched or not stretched. So those are the different epithelium that the different classification of your epithelium. So now let's have a practice for your short quiz and practical quizzes. So I want you to really identify correctly the epithelium. So again, like for example, this is now your epithelium. Identify. Is this simple or stratified? As what you can see, this area is the epithelium. There's only one layer. Simple or stratified? This is simple. And what is the morphology of the cell? The morphology of the cell is flat. So therefore, this is simple squamous. Very good. The epithelium is the layers of cells at the top, and note that there are flattened nuclei and very thin cytoplasm. So therefore, this is simple squamous. Very good. I want you to somehow answer because this is the only way for you to assess yourself. So even though that this is only a pre-recorded video, I want you to practice or try to answer while you are watching this video. Next, this one. How many layers? Okay, excuse me, sorry. Okay, this one, how many layers? There's only one layer. There's only one layer. This is simple and it looks like cube. Therefore, this is simple cuboidal. So note that there are round nuclei and square-shaped cells. This is indicative of your cuboidal and a single layers of cells that rest in your basement membrane. This is actually your basement membrane. So therefore, this is simple cuboidal. Very good. Again, this is located in your respiratory tract. So once you already know that this comes from your respiratory tract, there's a presence of cilia. What else? This is also contains a pseudostratified cells and also contains your mucus secreting cells. So therefore, this is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium or pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So that is how you correctly identify your epithelium. Again, this is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. Again, this one. This is actually located in your bladder. So automatically when you hear the word bladder, therefore, this is transitional epithelium. So found in the bladder to accommodate your large increase on in volume. So note the several layers of your columnar as well as your cuboidal cells that is already an indicative of your epithelium. Always remember, once you see a columnar cells, so these are your columnar cells, and some cuboidal cells, these are already an indicative that it is a transitional epithelium. Very good. And lastly, we have this example found in your small intestine. This is now one layer of tall cells. This is simple columnar with what specialized structure here? These are now your simple columnar with microvilli. So simple columnar with microvilli epithelium. So that ends our lecture video. I hope that you were able now to classify the different types of epithelium, identify the location, and as well as for its function. So if you have any questions for this lecture, do not hesitate to PM me anytime through my Telegram account. So again, for your worksheet, I prepared a worksheet. So kindly draw, color, and label correctly and identify the different location and function. And I want you to submit that not later than 8 p.m. today. And also, for the quiz, I want you to correctly identify the epithelium. So please practice, read your books. Then in that way, you can enhance your way of identifying these epithelium. So thank you everyone and God bless.